Right. I have to scroll. Pardon my scrolling. So we are in chapter 46. So these are some of the great distributors of that time, Rameshwar Prabhu and Tripurari Swami. So they were breaking all the records of book distribution, and Los Angeles was winning the book distribution, distributing thousands of books every day. And Srila Prabhupada was very happy because we can speak about Krishna, but when somebody gets a book, they can always refer to the book. And Srila Prabhupada was very happy with all the wonderful numbers of book distribution. And then Srila Prabhupada from India, at that time, he decided to go visit 13 ISKCON centers in US and Canada. And he used to, even though he was very old and sick, he still wanted to travel so that he can inspire all his disciples and make sure they're all following Krishna consciousness very well. So he went to Denver, um, and then he um, then he went to other cities. So in Denver, he said, so one should work only to get the basic necessities in life. Um, Otherwise, if there are people who just works multiple jobs to make money, and one fine day they have to leave their body, and they just lived a life of dogs, asses, and hogs. So we should not neglect our Krishna consciousness just because we are working. We work, and then we also discuss um, and sing Krishna's praises and chant the names of the Lord. So that's also very important. So Prabhupada's message was there. Then he went to Chicago. He had to take an 11-hour flight from Mumbai for that. Um, the mayor of the city came to visit Prabhupada. By this time, this worldwide organization has become very famous, and everybody wanted to uh, meet Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was telling the best way to clean up this world was for everybody to take up Krishna consciousness, because Srila Prabhupada started in New York, and he was able to change the real the people there. Their minds were full of taking drugs, or just wasting their life with the opposite gender, just chasing the opposite gender and all that, and their focus changed to um, serve Krishna. So that way, all these people who were just wasting their life, they started doing great things. So Prabhupada was telling the mayor that unless everybody takes up Krishna consciousness, there wouldn't be peace and reduction in crime. At that time, Chicago was notorious to be very having a lot of crime, lot of killing, looting, all that was happening in Chicago. So Prabhupada always had the right message for the persons in a place to attract them to Krishna consciousness. So he always looked at the time, place, circumstance, who he is talking to, and he tailored the message that was specific to that person. Um, then Srila Prabhupada in Chicago mentioned about women, that women should, always be pure, and they should be faithful to one husband, not having multiple men in their life. And he was talking about women always needing protection. But at that time, there was the women's liberation movement going on. The feminist movement was all going on, and they were not happy with that message that Srila Prabhupada was giving. And Srila Prabhupada didn't want to change the message. He said a woman needs to be protected, and she shouldn't just be totally, without any protection and independence. And he also gave, he gave an example that that like men and women get together, and then the woman gets pregnant, and then the man leaves the woman, and then the woman has to take care of the child by herself. That's not the right way to live the life. Husband and wife should raise kids, and so that there is commitment, and the child can grow in a good family. So these modern day um, principles, Prabhupada said it's not right, and at that time that it created a big um, backlash, that Srila Prabhupada is talking about male domination and all that. But Srila Prabhupada always said that men and women are just the bodily characteristics. But when we look at the soul is always the servant of Krishna, and there's always equality that way. But only when we are living a material life, we have to see, oh, this person is a man, this person is a woman, and and hence we have to follow some rules. But in front of Krishna, everybody is the same. So devotees understand what Srila Prabhupada says, but there are others who want to, um, make stories and not take the message in the correct sense. So. Um, and then Srila Prabhupada went to Philadelphia, and he was very happy with Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, who was worshipping Lord Jagannath really good there. So this is the picture of Ravindra Swarup Prabhu in his young days, and the more recent picture. And then Srila Prabhupada promised to attend the Rath Yatra festival. Um, and Srila Prabhupada, he did his first Rath Yatra in San Francisco, and then soon this Rath Yatra started happening in all the other cities, and that way everybody was seeing how these deities of Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra Maharani were going in the streets in America, in different cities, and all the devotees were chanting and dancing, and anybody who was attracted was coming and trying to find out more, and they themselves were taking up Krishna consciousness. Um, and Srila Prabhupada himself had never gone to a Jagannath Puri Rath Yatra. This is the Rath Yatra that happens in Orissa. He had visited the temple but didn't never go to for a Rath Yatra itself. But he established Rath Yatra all over the world. And when somebody asked him, "Have you been to a Jagannath Puri Rath Yatra?" And Srila Prabhupada said, "I have not been, but I conducted many Rath Yatras." If you remember, as a little boy, he conducted a Rath Yatra for many days with a little cart at home. Um, so this is these are the big Rath Yatras he was conducting in America. There were 1,200 pounds of halwa being distributed to all the Americans who came to chant and dance in front of the Lord. So, so then, because the hot topic was the relationship between man and women, and how Srila Prabhupada said women should always be dependent on a man to take care of them. There was always these reporters coming and trying to ask more questions about that. Um, And then there were even devotees, women devotees, who were feeling a little uh, not clear, and they were asking, "What is the position of women?" And Srila Prabhupada said, "You are not a woman; you're a devotee." So um, he always saw the men and women the same, and devotees are the topmost. Um, okay, so. So Srila Prabhupada was also always stressing on the worship of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then he decided to go to San Francisco. From San Francisco, he was trying to go to um, Berkeley in California, He met many yogis from um, other following of Hinduism, and he invited them also for the Rath Yatra. Then in 1975, July 22nd, Srila Prabhupada instructed that his 17 books for Chaitanya Charitamrita get published in just 2 months. So Srila Prabhupada had finished all the translations of the verses and written his purports, and the presses were not keeping up with how fast he was dictating and creating these beautiful literature for everybody to learn. But then he gave his devotees, his disciples, a target that finish this in 2 months, and then um, and because of that, they started working very hard to print these 17 volumes in 2 months, and they were actually successful. It was considered impossible to print these, uh, but, um, but by Lord Chaitanya's arrangement, the devotees made that possible. And Srila Prabhupada was very happy that his disciples were doing that in such a fast time and distributing all the books. So then Srila Prabhupada went to all these cities, Laguna Beach, this is in California. Then he went to San Diego, which is also in California. Then he went to Dallas, Texas. We discussed about Dallas, how Radha Kalachandji came to Dallas in last class. So he went and visited the deities there. Then he went to New Orleans. So Radha Rasbihari ji is there. Oh, sorry, Radha Kanta is in New Orleans, and then there is a temple in Mississippi called New Talawan, and Srila Prabhupada visited there as well. Then he went to Detroit, Toronto in Canada, then to Boston, New York, and then he went to Europe and then back to India. So we see that all these big cities were having temples now, and Srila Prabhupada actually wanted 108 temples established before he left. And if you remember back to our first class, Srila Prabhupada, when he was born, the astrologer came and prophesied that Srila Prabhupada, at the age of 70, he'll go outside India and establish 108 temples all over the world. So that prophecy was coming true. Srila Prabhupada had come without knowing anybody in 1965 to America, and now look how big his organization is. It's even bigger than the British Empire at the time. Uh, so ISKCON was getting established in so many more countries, and Srila Prabhupada was running all this with the help of his disciples. And then Srila Prabhupada, now we can see that he'll want to take a step back because he didn't finish all his translations and purports for Srimad Bhagavatam. So he finished Chaitanya Charitamrita, but he also wanted to finish Srimad Bhagavatam. So he wanted to take a step back from managerial duties and just focus on his creating these wonderful books, so that even once he leaves the world, he can everybody can take shelter of his books. Yeah. And and then Srila Prabhupada used to conduct walks every morning with his disciples, and they used to ask him questions. So they were asking, should we do all these different yogas to for the body? And Srila Prabhupada said it's not required. Um, so then Srila Prabhupada saw the Vaishnava school. There was a Gurukula uh, set up in Dallas. So Srila Prabhupada gave good instructions that focusing should be on chanting and hearing about Krishna. Um, so Srila Prabhupada also mentioned about um, Rukmini being taken away by Krishna, and how Rukmini was serving Krishna by actually riding the chariot, and while Krishna was fighting with the kings. So, inspiring everybody to serve in Krishna consciousness is what Srila Prabhupada was doing. And then in the newspapers, there was instruction, or there was a news that a barefoot Swami is drawing big crowds in Dallas. So Prabhupada was very happy when the news about Krishna came in the newspapers, because more people will get attracted, and he was always focusing on expanding his organization so that more and more people will get benefited. Um, and then when he was flying to New Orleans, there was a big turbulence, and everybody was afraid when this was happening, and everybody was screaming, thinking the flight was going to crash. It was just, the turbulence, and Srila Prabhupada was not at all affected, because we know Srila Prabhupada is Abhay Charan. He's always unafraid. Um, and Srila Prabhupada was calm. So the disciple going with him was watching that, how a devotee, a great pure devotee of the Lord, doesn't get perturbed or affected by any external situations, because they are always connected to the Supreme Lord Krishna. Um, and then Srila Prabhupada, when he went to New Orleans and then New Talavan, etc., Srila Prabhupada was telling how Grahastha ashramis are those who have a family to raise kids. They are the right people to live in a farm community, take care of cows, etc. So he was giving those wonderful instructions. And these are the morning walks where Srila Prabhupada used to answer questions um, to his disciples, and they were recording every word he said. See, what he was saying was getting recorded in this machine. Okay. Um, And then Srila Prabhupada was mentioning how while they were raising cows, and how the milk should be processed. So milk should be boiled and can be consumed, and then in the night it should be made into yogurt, what is left, and then yogurt can be consumed, and then yogurt can be churned into butter, and then from butter ghee can be made, and so there will be no waste from the milk drawn from the cows. And then Srila Prabhupada always stressed that the disciples and devotees should always be paradukha dukhi, which means if anybody sees anybody who's going through a tough situation, we should be worried about them, just as if the same thing happened to us. So Prabhupada was always wanting to help others. He was unhappy to see others in distress. So this paradukha dukhi is a very important teaching of Srila Prabhupada. Then Srila Prabhupada returned back to India, and he got an invitation to meet with Indira Gandhi, who was the then Prime Minister of India. So just we know that um, Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to the US and met with Donald Trump. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada was become a big celebrity at this point, and all the big heads of state wanted to meet with Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada, when he went to India, he went to meet um, uh, Indira Gandhi, and he wanted to give the message to Indira Gandhi that um, you know she should push for every more and more people to take up the bhakti for Krishna or Krishna consciousness. Um, and then Srila Prabhupada, now that he had established all these centers, he always said that Vrindavan is his home. And we know Srila Prabhupada, even before coming to America, was writing his first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in Vrindavan. So he always considered Vrindavan his home. And Mayapur, where he was establishing the Chandrodaya Mandir, the Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir, that that is his place of worship, and Bombay or Mumbai is his office. That's where Radha Rasbihari and Juhu temple was, the Hare Krishna land in Juhu was established. So Srila Prabhupada was fond of all these three places, and just like we say about Char Dham of Krishna, right? So Krishna goes to sleep in Dwaraka. He wakes up and meditates um, in Badrinath. Sorry, Rishikesh. So that is where he meditates, and then he comes to eat in Jagannath Puri because so much prasadam is made there, and then he goes to Rameshwaram to take bath. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada had these three places as his favorite. Um, so that's interesting. Um, and when he met Indira Gandhi, he wanted to give a lot of instructions to her. But when he met Indira Gandhi, she was fearing for her life because there were a lot of threats going on, and she was not in a good frame of mind. So Srila Prabhupada just asked some requests because all these wonderful devotees who wanted to spend time in Mayapur and Vrindavan, they had to leave when their visas expired. So Srila Prabhupada wanted to give them permanent visas. So he asked for 500 Western disciples to get the visa extended. Um, so the 17 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita was presented to Srila Prabhupada on his 80th birthday or Vyasa Puja on August 31st. So that's also mentioned. Rameshwar Prabhu was sending that information to Srila Prabhupada. Um, So Srila Prabhupada was very happy to see the printed books, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that he took so many pains. And you just imagine a person who is like in his late 70s traveling and meeting all these disciples and great heads of state during the day. And in the night, he doesn't sleep much, but he uses that time to translate and give commentaries for all these books that is getting printed. So he is actually literally 24/7. He's serving Krishna, not resting or doing anything for himself. We can see in the life of a pure devotee how they are fully using any hours they have in the service of the Lord. And it is actually impossible to even think how can an old man do all this at this senior age, and it's all Krishna's miracle that Srila Prabhupada is showing. Um, and then Srila Prabhupada became very strict at this point of time in his life. Now that the temples were established, earlier we know he was, even attracting people who were taking drugs and trying to make them attracted. But now that so many devotees and temples were formed, he was making sure that now everybody follows the rules well. So he is always, very heavy with his disciples if they were not clean or not attending Mangalarati. He would just say, it is very important for everybody to go. Mangalarati is the first arati when the sun has not risen yet during the Brahma Muhurta hours. In every temple, there is this morning arati. It's called Mangalarati, and those disciples who go for that arati, it shows their commitment and their surrender to the Lord, because they are giving up their sleep uh, and waking up early in the morning to worship the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada said this puja is very important to go to every day. So if he didn't see enough people going, then he would ask the temple president why everybody is not coming for Mangalarati. Um, and then Srila Prabhupada, of course, with this example, was showing how he wanted to do everything perfect in the temple. In Vrindavan, he wanted um, a bell to ring every half hour, even in the night. And then when that was not being followed, he would call his secretary and ask why wasn't that happening. He would make this person go and wake up um, the security person who was taking care of ringing the bell to wake up and do it. So Srila Prabhupada was making sure they follow the highest service for Krishna, even though it was inconvenient. So then he was like, some of the disciples, like ringing the bell was difficult. So little services are called out, like Gunarna Prabhu made a wooden bracket arrangement so that the bell could be rung easily, and Srila Prabhupada liked it. Srila Prabhupada was always grateful for anybody who did a little bit of service. And these are some of the disciples who were serving um, in Vrindavan, the Shrutakirti Prabhu and Gunarnava Prabhu. So all white-bodied disciples who were serving in Vrindavan, and that was Srila Prabhupada's idea or tactic, that because Indians were not following Krishna consciousness much, he knew that if Americans followed it and they were a good example, all the Indians will also pick up bhakti for Krishna. That was his mission. So he had all these his disciples, 500 of them, live in India so that they will inspire the Indians who had many choices to follow, right? Like how they worship God, but seeing the sincerity of all these nice American disciples, many Indians were also getting attracted. And even in this age, when Srila Prabhupada was such an exalted acharya with so many disciples, thousands of them, he would still, when he's living in a temple, if he finds that the prasadam wasn't being made correctly, he would go to the kitchen and teach them how to make puris, chapatis, samosas, kachauris, etc. So we see that, he's not proud of his position. He just wants to serve the Lord. We know, like the great businessman today, when they get money, they would just pay a servant to do things. But Srila Prabhupada, he was always trying to help others improve their Krishna consciousness, and do very, very menial tasks to help others. Um, so Srila Prabhupada was getting a lot of invitations to go outside India also. There was a big temple being built in South Africa, Durban and Johannesburg. So uh, Pushta Krishna Prabhu, this is this person here, he was inviting Srila Prabhupada to go to South Africa to do Harinam Sankirtan and attract souls to become Krishna conscious. So he went there. Then he went to Mauritius, where the prime minister had invited Srila Prabhupada because the weather is better there, and in his old age, Srila Prabhupada was finding trouble in London and New York, because even in Tennessee right now, the weather is cold, and that affects many people. Many people have flu and everything. So Srila Prabhupada wanted to spend more time doing his translations and book commentaries, so he was wanting to find a place. So when this prime minister from Mauritius invited him, he went. And he gave this Mauritius prime minister gave him a car to travel anywhere also, but then this car got into a car crash, and Srila Prabhupada got hurt, and mysteriously Srila Prabhupada sat on the opposite side of where the collision was happening, because somebody had told him sit on the opposite side of where the driver is driving, and he did that same, and he was saved, but he still had wounds. And Srila Prabhupada understood that, that means he has to go back to India, that it's not good to stay anywhere here, um, because it said that if you leave your body in Vrindavan, you're sure to go back home, back to Godhead. And we know that Srila Prabhupada's home is Vrindavan, and he's taking huge risks to travel all over the world, and just to inspire others. So he still, he understood with the accident that he should probably go back to India. But then there were others calling him from another African country. So Kenya's capital is Nairobi. So the temple president was calling from there, please come and inspire everybody. And then Prabhupada, even though he was not feeling well, he was wounded in an accident. Like anybody else would have just gone back to India, but he said, no, let me go to Nairobi and help the devotees there. So we see how surrendered and how much service Srila Prabhupada is doing even in that old age. Even young people would just probably prioritize their health and well-being, but Srila Prabhupada is always wanting to serve. And then Srila Prabhupada gave a good analogy. All these books being distributed in America, that's how the funds and the money was coming into ISKCON, and he was using those to build the temples in Vrindavan, Mayapur, and Mumbai. Um, so Srila Prabhupada was saying that the East was meeting the West, and because of Srila Prabhupada, usually like the Western world were doing their own thing, the Eastern world was doing their own thing, but Srila Prabhupada was bridging the East and the West, and he mentioned how he compared a blind man and a lame man. So a blind man cannot walk because he can't see where he's going. But a lame man himself, he cannot physically walk. So the best way is for the blind man to carry the lame man, and the lame man can see well, and he can say, oh, blind man, go to right or left, and hence reach the destination, right? So he was comparing the lame man to India, because India was very poor, but had all this wonderful knowledge of spirituality. And the blind man is compared to America or the Western world, where they have all the means, like they have the legs to travel, but they don't have the right vision of what they should use their resources for. So Srila Prabhupada was wanting to make both the East and the West meet and work together so that we can get better results. So a combination of blind and lame men complementing and supporting each other was what Srila Prabhupada was trying to do. So that's why when you go to a ISKCON temple, you'll not just see Indians or not just Americans as a mix, because everybody's helping each other, and we are not sectarian. We don't say, oh, this is Krishna is only for Indians. We are always, seeing everybody as spirit soul. And then this chapter 49 is about, when Prabhupada took a step back from his managerial duties, there were still some, devotees fighting among each other, because there are many classes of devotees. There are sannyasis or brahmacharis, and there's grahasthashramis who have wife and kids. And one was thinking one is better than the other, and they used to fight with each other. In this chapter, Srila Prabhupada actually um, unified everybody. He would call them into a room and talk to them and make sure they respect each other. Each had their own duty. My Guru Maharaj uses the example of the body. The heart never tells the brain to say, "Oh, I'm more important," and the brain never tells the hands and legs, "Oh, you guys are not important. I'm more important." Sorry. So, um, so then, um, Srila Prabhupada was making sure that he had these meetings. He established a governing body commission. So the governing body commission is he selected 12 good disciples of his and told them that they would make the rules and make sure everybody is following everything in ISKCON, and everybody they would take up the administrative and managerial duties of this big organization. And there were many disciples who didn't like uh, these these 12 disciples and what they said. So then Srila Prabhupada established like an annual meeting where they would meet in Mayapur, and then when they met in Mayapur, they would decide. Srila Prabhupada will be there only for that meeting, but he wouldn't be there for every meeting during the year, so that he can focus on his book translations, etc. Um, And then Srila Prabhupada wanted to build a big city in Mayapur to attract everyone. And now we know that this big Vedic planetarium is being built according to what Srila Prabhupada wanted. After 50 years of his passing, this is actually happening now. This was all envisioned at that time. And during Prabhupada's time, these pink buildings were already created. It was pretty big at that time. It had the longest building in West Bengal. Srila Prabhupada and his disciples contributed a lot to attract people to Krishna consciousness. Um, and then this was where he appreciated the grahasthashramis and told them that they have to do nama sankirtan, and the brahmacharis, they would stay in the temple. And he also established that the people who are having a family should not live in the temple. They should get their own means of livelihood, because the temple cannot fund everything like for their family life. So that's why grahasthas have to go to work and take care of their family. And those who are sannyasis and brahmacharis, they can live in the temple, and they're taken care by the donation that come into the temple. So all those rules were being made so that there is no confusion. And Srila Prabhupada always knew that when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, his spiritual master, left the world, he was having there was a lot of infighting between his disciples. So Srila Prabhupada knew that such things would happen. So he was trying his best, even while he was in this world, to establish the guru system and have his disciples cooperate with each other. And he was seeing and making sure it works, and not just leave anything to chance. So we see what a visionary Srila Prabhupada is. And even today, ISKCON is going so strong. And from 108 temples, now it's over 600 temples, or 700 temples actually. And it didn't disintegrate like the Gaudiya Mutt and all those uh, organization that because the disciples just wanted to do their own thing, they created multiple organizations. But ISKCON is still today doing very well, spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world because of this great vision of Srila Prabhupada. Um, and then there was a Gaur Purnima festival being Gaur Purnima is coming up this year. This is the appearance day of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We know Nityananda Trayadashi completed. That was the appearance day of um, Nityananda, Lord Nityananda. So during that time, um, His Holiness Jayapataga Swami Maharaj was taking care of Mayapur, and he was telling everybody to take a dip in the Ganges. Is very auspicious on Gaur Purnima day. Um, and then Srila Prabhupada was telling all his disciples to preach. So not just, learn for yourself, but share it with others. That's will give you a lot of happiness. Okay, so this is more, you know, this chapter is telling more about the lame man and the blind man that we discussed. And Srila Prabhupada's commentary and books he's writing is called his Transcendental Ecstasies. He used to take a lot of effort to write these books. He wouldn't just write it on a whim. He kept himself on a clear mind. He would meditate on the verses and think how this verse can be beneficial for others when he wrote his commentary. So he, at that time, once he passed on the mantle of uh, management to his GBC, he was focusing more on writing. And earlier, he used to write about 100 digits in his dictaphone. Now it's coming close to 300 because he was not doing the day-to-day management. And he was doing this in Fiji, Hawaii, etc., where the weather is really good. And Srila Prabhupada was very happy to do that. And then as his age was more than 80 now, he was not able to sleep at night, and he was using that in the service of Krishna. Whenever, uh, bec- though he was not able to sleep, he would just complete his work. And then he was writing the seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. If you remember, seventh canto is where Prahlad Maharaj's pastime and Hiranyakashipu being killed by Narasimhadev, all that. So he was translating that and from Sanskrit, and he one day he never stopped translating. He went all the way all through the night till 5 a.m. to complete that out. And then if we take the seventh canto, it is written there, the closing remarks, completed on the night Vaishakhi Shukla Ekadashi, the 10th May 1976, in the temple of Panchatattva, New Navadvipa, Honolulu. This is Hawaii. By the mercy of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So Srila Prabhupada was very happy when he finished the seventh canto in Hawaii. Um, so we see how this great Acharya then started from seventh canto. He started the eighth canto, and he was trying his best to complete as much as possible before he leaves his body because he was already 80 years old. Um, and if you look at Srila Prabhupada's commentary, it is always stressing that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is how Krishna is referred to by Srila Prabhupada, Supreme Personality of Godhead. You don't find that in any other Acharya's instructions. So Srila Prabhupada, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam is being explained everywhere as much as possible. So that if a person just takes and reads one verse, they still understand that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, which is the essence of all the literature. Um, all right. Um, and then uh, uh, in July 1976, this is the 10th anniversary of creating ISKCON. If you remember, he established ISKCON in July 1966. So 10 years have now passed, and look how far Prabhupada has come. And there was a big celebration in Washington, D.C. at that time for the anniversary. And then there was a big back to Godhead article declaring our dependence on God, because Srila Prabhupada always stressed on taking this dependence of Krishna and not saying, oh, we can do it ourselves. We should always think, oh, if Krishna wills, we can do it. Because we by ourselves can never do anything correctly. Okay, so we are at time actually, but let me quickly complete. Srila Prabhupada wanted to go to the Kumbh Mela, which is happening right now in India. That happens every 12 years in Allahabad or Varanasi. And Srila Prabhupada at that time wanted to go there, and he went in January 11, 1977. 1977 is the year he left this world in November. So we'll just quickly complete that part and go to the Kahoot. So Srila Prabhupada went to the Kumbh Mela. This is a picture from at that time, and you can see that he's becoming skinnier and skinnier. He stopped eating solid foods, and he was reducing his food intake, so he's becoming very skinny, um, and um, and his health was deteriorating. And you can see in 1977 he was very thin, and then he told everybody that he has done his part, and now it is up to his disciples to do their service. um, and he would call everybody for his last instructions. um, and he told that while he's still alive, um, he wants his disciple to initiate others on his behalf. But once he leaves, he wanted the acharyas or his disciples to initiate new disciples. So there is actually a part of ISKCON who still does that. They're called Ritwiks. They don't say they are the spiritual master. They only say Srila Prabhupada is the spiritual master. Um, but the mainstream ISKCON, based on Srila Prabhupada's instructions, once he leaves the world, he wanted the next generation of gurus to initiate his disciples. So we can say the Ritviks are not following Srila Prabhupada's instructions fully. Okay, and then finally, Srila Prabhupada was feeling very ill, but Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj said maybe it is good for Srila Prabhupada to travel once to the Western world from India, because he can see all his disciples there, and that might make him happy. So they decided to go um, to London so that Srila Prabhupada um, can see his disciples there. And he went to London, but then he was feeling very sick, and then he decided he'll not go to New York. He'll just go back to Vrindavan. And Vrindavan is where Srila Prabhupada wanted to leave his body. And in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada was always in the presence of disciples. He reduced his food intake and almost to nothing. And we can see here, even just before leaving his body, he is giving instructions. His god brothers came to see him. This is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami's other disciples other than Prabhupada. So Sridhar Swami, Narayan Maharaj, they all came to see Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada was very happy to see them and ask for forgiveness if he did anything wrong. So we see how what humility he has. Even though he's the great Acharya of the whole world, he's still saying, I must have made some mistakes. I'm sorry for that. And then he left his body on November 14th, 1977 at 7:30 p.m. Um, and just before he left his body, he said he has no desires, everything. He's very happy, and all disciples were chanting in next to him when he left. So he was showing with this example how to leave the body by chanting the holy names of the Lord, and how he used his whole life for the service of Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So now we can go to the Kahoot quiz. So we completed this whole book about Srila Prabhupada. Any questions before we start the quiz? Okay. So the game pin is 5766267. Okay. You're all able to join. Do you want me to scan the QR code? Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Okay, looks like we have everybody. Nitinji.
Sir, I'm joining.
Okay.
Prabhuji, actually, I don't have any other device to join for the Kahoot, so I will not be attending the Kahoot.
No problem. No problem. Thank you for listening the whole class. Good luck on your tests. Okay, let's start the Kahoot. This is the last section, 46 to 55th chapter. As per the instruction of Srila Prabhupada, the 17 volume of Chaitanya Charitamrita was printed in dash months, 1, 2, 3, or 6. Yes, very good. All of you remember so well. What did Srila Prabhupada have daily to facilitate digestion? So you got to guess this. I'm sorry I didn't mention this in class. Is it orange, pomegranate, neem, or bitter lemon? Okay, bitter lemon. Okay, Srila Prabhupada said that a Vaishnava is Paradukha Sukhi, Paradukha Shanti, Paradukha Dukhi, Paradukha Hasti. Yes, Paradukha Dukhi is the right answer. Para is others, Dukha is sadness. So we are sad about the sadness of others. So Paradukha Dukhi. Paradukha Sukhi is who finds happiness when others are sad. That's like a sadist. Paradukha Shanti are those who are like, they feel peaceful when others are having trouble. Okay. Srila Prabhupada said, Dash was his home, Dash was his office, and Dash was his place of worship. Vrindavan, Mumbai, Mayapur, Bombay, Mayapur, Vrindavan, Mayapur, Bombay, Vrindavan, Los Angeles, New York, West Virginia. Yes, Vrindavan is his home, Mumbai or Bombay is his office, and Mayapur is his place of worship. Srila Prabhupada said this is very important and everyone must attend this every day. Mangalarati, Dhuparati, Bhogarati, Shringararati. Yes, Mangalarati. Very good. Srila Prabhupada said that a qualified disciple will always consider oneself as dash in front of the spiritual master. Incapable, fool, intelligent, better. So it's all about being humble in front of spiritual master. You shouldn't go into the spiritual master with thinking that you know better than the spiritual master. You should always consider yourself a fool. You shouldn't consider yourself incapable, because when the spiritual master gives an instruction, you should try your best and you think you are capable to do it. Again, you're not thinking yourself more intelligent than the spiritual master or better than the spiritual master. So fool is the best answer. Srila Prabhupada says that as soon as one fully engages in Dash, one becomes better than even a sannyasi. Sense gratification, austerity, charity, Krishna consciousness. Yes, all of you got it right. That's amazing. Okay, second last question of today. Srila Prabhupada passed away in Vrindavan. True or false? True. Very good. Last question for today. Srila Prabhupada passed away on November 14, 1974, November 24th, 1974, November 14, 1977, November 24th, 1977. Okay, November 14, 1977 is the right answer. Let's see who are all on the podium. Third place goes to Nitinji. Congratulations. Second place goes to Narasimhaji, Srihariji. And first place goes to Krishna devotee or Ayana. And fourth place goes to Shreyaji, and place goes to Santoshji. All are winners for learning about Srila Prabhupada, the great devotee of Lord Krishna. Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Vancha kalpatarupascha kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavanepyo vaishnavepyo namo namaha. We'll start a new book or topic next class. So congratulations on completing Srila Prabhupada, Leelamrita. We finished 7 books like this. So congratulations to all of you. And we'll meet again next week. Hare Krishna.